All right.
Usually, what version 1.0 of us made default inter interpret the world as happening, and how do we want to show up? How could we show up as version 2.0 of us? What world do we want to evoke?
Mhm.
And that from version 1.0, there can be things such as like wrong, and that will give us a certain result in life. If someone doesn't show up or does show up in a certain way, then we have some reaction, some response.
Mhm.
We can more consciously choose or like select a character that from moving from 2.0 would like look like some
You're
very,
you're making it too complicated.
yeah, this is a common challenge I have. Okay. This has historically been a challenge I have. What do you see, Gray?
So there's this thing that happens out there. It can be somebody breaking one of your favorite dishes. It can be somebody bringing you flowers. Whatever it is, you're going to interpret it in a certain way. And usually, because you interpret it that way, there's a whole series of actions or area of actions that you take. Right? And so, what Herbie Hancock demonstrated was that he played a chord, just a chord, that in his opinion, in his evaluation, was wrong. And he clapped his hands to his head and go, "Oh crap! He's going to freaking chew me a new ass right on stage." And then he looked over, and Miles Davis just hesitated for a second and then did a response to the wrong chord that, in Herbie's eyes, made it a right chord. Right? Miles Davis was not paying attention to the rightness or the wrongness of it. It was just that's what Herbie played, and his job was to make it sound good, I guess.
Mhm.
And so what Herbie's doing is he's telling it from his point of view. And so when he saw how Miles took something that was wrong and made it right, it blew gaskets in his head.
Mhm.
So your partner does something that she thinks is wrong, okay? And she's expecting you to, cleave her in two with action. And instead, you do something that makes that wrongness different, makes it maybe even makes it good. And that blows circuits in her head. That opens up new neural pathways.
Yeah.
Now, the crazy part is that Miles is pointing to the bad, but there's also the good. Because you have a bunch of habitual patterns around what you think are the good, the sexy, the expensive, whatever the high value is.
Yeah.
And so I think what Herbie's pointing at when he says what he thought Miles was doing is Miles is engaging with the thing as it is, more or less, and he's using his orientation. My job is to respond. And so you can look at the things around you in your life and you can say, I can go from this value set. You're bad, you're wrong, you're good, you're sexy. And that's going to determine what I do next. Or you can sit there and say, you're doing what you're doing. What do I want to do? I can make it horrible. I can make it good.
Yeah.
You could be coming out there dressed to kill. And I really believe you're sexy, but I'm going to be like, you know what? I'm going to blow her world up. You look terrible.
Mhm. Okay, so I heard the practice that you're converting to from this declarative is that you're doing what you're doing, which is just going to be like the way the world is, and then asking, what do I want to do with it?
Yeah. And it's even better. It would have been better if Herbie, if who's the other guy?
Miles Davis.
If Miles Davis had heard it as wrong and then matched it anyway, that would have been a higher order of play. But what Miles is saying is that he just heard it neutral.
Yeah. And this is a beautiful metaphor for like basically everything in like, well, I would imagine neutral is even more ideal. It's more like meditative or on the path frame, which is not even
Not
like
on the path, not on my path.
okay.
Okay.
There's,
On
so
a
there's
path, yes.
there are things that are happening, and then you select with what what you want to do with it, and that there's a
Right.
certain set of ways that you choose to interpret the world and or respond to it that gets you a different life.
Right. Easiest thing to do is look at your big important stuff in your life, the good and the bad,
Mhm.
because that's where you're most deeply entrenched in your monoculture's definitions.
Yeah.
This is like some people, go out there and they find the data that says, oh, men like this kind of figure. So what? Your lady friend could have the complete opposite figure to what men are supposed to want, and you can make her feel like she's the most desirable person on the planet.
Yeah. Beautiful. How can I, in the moments when I make up that my ego is very attached or I'm like dysregulated or overwhelmed, well, I guess I just ask for space or like I just pause or slow down. And I think that's been working.
Yep. You pause, you try to see what it's about. First, you look for the signifier. What's the thing that's happening that's having me blow my gaskets?
Yeah.
And then you look for the signifier. What does that actually mean? If somebody's leaving dirty dishes in the sink, that's the signifier. Now, you could say it's the dirty dishes in the sink, but if you pause a minute, you're like, they're not paying attention to the rules that we agreed upon.
Right. Yeah, that's
That
like
makes me angry that people are either lying when they make agreements.
Yeah.
Or they're making promises that they're not going to keep.
So then you just own and out that in connection with them.
It depends what you want to do. I mean, you know, there's no shoulds here. It's just like, what do you want to do with it?
Mm-hmm.
For me, for the longest time, because I wanted to kick my betrayal thing, I would just go and do the dishes.
Oh yeah, I see. Well, that's beautiful. That's definitely
Right?
sometimes happens on great days for me.
Mhm.
But yeah. What
The,
happens?
the trick,
Yeah, the ratio. Yeah.
if you're trying to do that stuff, try to feel the embodiment. Try to feel that part of you that just wants to kill the person that left the dishes there. Now it wants to kill you
Yeah.
because it thinks that you're betraying yourself by making their betrayal okay.
Mm-hmm.
The trap that most people fall
Yeah,
into
it
is
does feel
that
like
they
it's
do.
making it okay, and it feels like being
Yeah,
complicit in like lower standards or mediocrity.
yeah.
Notice the part that wants to kill this other part of myself for being
Yep.
complicit in what I see as lowering standards or media, like being a stand for mediocrity. It's just
How dare you do the things to yourself that the others did to you that you swore you would never do
Mhm.
to yourself?
Yeah, and I see how that leaves me very trapped in our life, clearly not workable.
Yeah. Hmm.
So yeah, I guess these are fairly consequential things at the end of the day. And I understand that like dishes is like one of the most common like fighting points or like unworkability issues.
And it's ridiculous. I mean, to me, there's a lot of crap going on where if the agreement is wash your dishes or put them in the dishwasher. Those are the only two options.
Yeah.
You can't leave them in the sink.
Yeah, the common claim here is that people forget them, or like, oh, I just had a meeting right after, and I'm like, thankfully it's really not that often, but when it does happen, or like they had a guest over, it's like I can understand, and I'm still annoyed,
Mhm.
and like tell your guest or like this. So, right. I think it also irks me more because I still do this, like once every month or something or less, but ideally, but why do you think it bothers us more when it reminds us in ways in which we do it too?
I think it reminds us of things that happen to us.
So it's like a
Like
of repetition
what
compulsion.
happens
Yeah.
what happens when other people do it, I'm just making up a story here, is that they in effect they promised you that they wouldn't do that. And you made it very clear that it was very important to you.
Yeah.
And when you see them do that, there's a part of you that says, oh, they lied to me. So if you have a lot of childhood experiences about being lied to or forgotten about or made not important, that's going to cause a huge flare.
Mhm.
And so one of the benefits is that you can look at that and you can say, it is crazy how reactive I'm getting about this. It is way out of proportion. So
Mhm.
that's a clue that there's something else. The signified isn't what you think it is.
Yeah.
And again, that's one of the maybe it's one of the household come froms. It's just like you know if you're having an out of proportion reaction to something, then it's signifying that something other than what's happening in the here and now is.
Yeah, I notice. I feel very confronted already about it. What's a skillful way I want to be about it? Like, well, that's very dysregulating. Hmm. Yeah, I started to notice feeling at effect. I also feel like pretty tender this week. I did a lot of like spicy circling containers where you basically like take wild swings at each other's egos and like wow that some of those definitely connected and I like feel like more yellowy or orangey and now I'm like all right well just soak it in relish being impacted in this way is my default. What happens for you when that happens if ever anymore?
It depends on what I have to do. If I'm sitting here and there's something coming up and I get yellowish or orangish, I will go eat a box of macaroni and cheese. It brings down the temperature so I can do what I want to be doing. You don't get any points for suffering.
I don't get extra points for suffering, you said?
Nope, you do not.
Um, I think there's some story about like I enjoy learning and discomfort is often a precursor to learning.
Yeah, but you get to say how long it goes on.
Yeah,
You can teach yourself to get to the answer quicker
yeah,
by not rolling around in it.
yeah. Hmm.
That's like a lot of people are like, I'm having a stronger emotion, I'm having a strong feeling, I'm having a strong thought. I want to dance with it longer because if it's big, it's important. It's like, no, it's not necessarily.
Mhm. Do you say that with feminines when dancing with feminines?
Depends where they are and what it's about. Because if you have big fiery feminines who were shut down when they were kids, then they get their 3 or 4 speed bumps, and then it's like, okay, let's have a conversation about this.
Mhm.
You know, when we're not inflamed, it's like, okay, so what is it? I understand that you want that you believe you want to be held through this whole thing as many times as you want. I understand that, and that's not going to happen.
Right, exactly.
You know,
I mean, that doesn't go over well typically, but yeah.
yeah, and it's like we've agreed that you get to hand me this card
Yeah.
once a week, and I will hold you in this. I will be there and let you do whatever you want for half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, whatever it is.
Hmm.
But I'm not going to sit around, doing your work. It's not up to me to hold your inner child. That's your job.
You say this to feminines in the moment that their things are heated?
I usually do it in such a way, I do it with an evil little smile on my face.
You do that. Okay, that's beautiful. Yeah, I know
Yes.
exactly what you're talking about now. Yeah, I think that the thing that's sticking for me is that I don't feel smiley about it. I feel pissed,
Yeah.
put upon. Yeah,
Yes. And they're hearing you say they're bad and they're wrong.
probably.
I'm like, seriously? With that
Okay,
degree of
they're
heat?
not bad or wrong. It's just I'm like not interested in that dance. And so that
I,
I do take for personal.
how are they interpreting it?
Right.
It's a kid. It's 6 years old. If what's happening is what you think is happening, it's a kid.
Yeah.
And you're telling them, I don't want to deal with you. How you're being is not okay with me. Now, as an adult, that's a very different message.
Yeah. Well, I mean, summoning the adult is certainly something, often a feat that feels. I mean, typically when things are like wavy or rocky road, it's like, oh, it's gonna explode. Oh.
Yeah, and so you try. Believe me, I've been through my share of explosions. I've been through my share of
Yeah.
public explosions at restaurants. Yeah, it's messy. You look like an
Public
idiot.
explosions in restaurants. Wow.
Yeah, you walk out of the restaurant with this big red wine stain all over your front. Yeah, she storms out. Everybody in the restaurant sees her storming out here, screaming, "You're a fucking prick!"
Okay,
And you're
wow.
left sitting there saying, "What the fuck am I supposed to do now?" It's like, well, let me finish my meal first of all.
Thankfully, I haven't. All right, I feel grateful. I haven't gotten that bad. That sounds like a pretty low standard. Pretty. All right, well, okay. That's how well I feel. It feels validating. Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah, I would like support around a recurring challenge when it comes to someone in my life where they ask a question or what I think is a question and I start answering it. They're like, I'm not finished yet. I'm like, okay. And they keep talking for like 1 minute and then like 2 minutes. And I'm like, I don't, okay, wait, so what's your question? They're like, stop interrupting me. I'm like, what? I just really don't, you're asking me for my time to like get to the bottom of what you have a question for me. And then you talk at me for 3 minutes and I don't understand where you're going with it.
Yep.
How,
When they get so you get to practice. You get to carve little hash marks in your arm. You're going to practice this 10 times. And they're going to say, I want to ask you a question. And you're going to say, I have 10 minutes. Before you say yes, you're going to tell them how much time. So for you, when anybody asks you, tells you that they want to ask you a question using the format that you're talking about, you look at your watch and you tell
yeah.
them how much time you have.
Yeah, I got my timer on speed dial. I double tap this. I'm like, great, what's up? And then it just starts
Yep.
ticking down. And it's like, and I'm present with them, and I have it that it's great. But also, they feel completely time boxed and totally not in their feminine flow because I
That's
like.
their that's their business. That's their business. You're not there to take care of them. You're there to have an adult conversation with them.
Okay, there's definitely some texture of like I thought we were like friends and like how to you do this to everybody and
We
I
we
this
are friends, and I've got shit I need to get done.
yeah
I have a half hour free in 45 in 6 hours.
yeah
If you want me to pencil you in for that, I have a lot of shit I need to do.
yeah okay, that sounds healthy and
Now,
good. Yeah,
if they get
it seems to like sneak into conversation, I guess. It starts somewhere and then it keeps going into like asking bigger and bigger, longer thread questions. And then the
yeah,
perception is I'm interrupting them and I'm like, I just don't understand what you're asking or there's not clarity
you
for
are so yes, I am interrupting you.
yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't think I'm validating that. Yes, I'm interrupting them, but it's
Yeah,
like
you meet them where they're at, and
uh
you say, I'm losing context here. I don't know what the question was. I didn't hear you say I want to tell you a story.
yeah, that's
So
exactly what I feel,
I
but
don't know Alton, I don't know what's happening here.
uh
And I've got to be at a meeting in 5 minutes, or I've got to go, wipe my ass in 5 minutes. I don't know, whatever it is.
yes. Sure. Yeah, it occurs to me that there's an increasing amount of like pull requests in our bids for time, and I'm like, okay, all right, I'll set it
You're
down.
not caretaking their smallness. You're going to treat them like you believe that they're an adult.
Yep.
And you're going to say, I have 10 minutes to hear your question. And you know it's not going to be a one liner, it's going to be X amount of things. And then you're going to say, okay, stop. I got to go now. I didn't hear a question, so I got nothing to reply to you. And I'll be happy to get back and do this again with you in 3 hours, whatever it is. You start training them that if they want to ask Fulton a question, they better do it quick. Because he's a busy man and he's got other things to do.
Yeah. Okay. That's,
This is you
I mean, that's clear. It's
practicing.
very reasonable. And also,
Yeah,
I don't know if the operating on reasonableness is, all right. Yeah. I
you're
think
trying to
the
model
crux
that.
is they're feeling like not emotionally as met or connected. And like, okay, all right.
You did not, they did not come up and say, Alton, emotionally meet me and be connected with me. They said, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
And you're like, yes, you can. I have 10 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. I think it sneaks from one, it like grows from one into the other and it just goes back and
No,
forth.
no, 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 no. They do something over there. Your job is to be there, to be strong, and to play to their bigness.
Yeah. I mean, even on like in a like relational context, there's it just seems like sometimes people want to relate to me by telling me their stories unconsensually, and I'm like, I'm not really into it, or
Yeah.
I don't get it.
But
And
so now be very clear that part of them is going to hear that your daddy, you are the daddy saying that their story or what's important to them isn't important to them. That's going to happen.
yeah,
Okay.
but they tell me that they're not interested in or sorry, this is more evidence that I'm not emotionally meeting their needs or available for them in some way. Thankfully, this is not often, but like it definitely I could see. I'm like, okay, I could see that makes sense. And also, this is just like not
It's
requested.
not my job to meet your emotional needs unless you state them clearly.
Oh,
And
okay.
then I
It's
still
pretty
have to
clear to
buy
them.
into it. I am
Um,
not from your culture. I don't understand your subtext.
yeah. There's definitely this, perennial, if we were really close, then you would just know, you would just read my mind, and it wouldn't be a big deal because you could just
Yeah.
infer.
Okay, so let's just get something word clear, housemates. It's impossible to read somebody's mind. Okay,
I
so
mean,
stop it.
okay. I mean, that's, but like I could tell, and I could model that there are even small factions of me that get like 5 or 10% of the time that do feel resentful. I'm like, oh man, I could imagine if we were really close, they would have totally been able to like infer that or like based on the
But you're
last
not
10 times.
close. The evidence is that you're not close.
Mhm.
If that's one of the measurements,
Yeah. Okay.
and you're okay with that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think the thing that really landed is like it's not my job to meet your emotional needs unless you express them clearly.
And even so, you still have
Yeah,
to sell me on it.
there's okay. Okay, that's interesting. I mean, and this is that it still also occurs on the other side is like we're just advertising strong masculine culture, like so that's their problem, and like no emotional availability, that's on them. And
Yeah, and guess what? They're dealing with adolescent masculines that they have to make emotional engagement worthy. There has to be some reason that all of you adolescent masculines who have no idea about emotional intelligence, la 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 la, if they want their emotional needs to be met, then they better step up to the bat and start educating you guys. And they better start with clarity about what it is they want, rather than making you guess.
I I mean, I mean, it's so easy. I think we're preaching to the choir because we agree with each other on here, but that's not like okay. Maybe we need to bring more feminines into the space, which I'll just ask, because the ex, because you and I might agree and say yes, pat each other on the back, and definitely, but like then it's just a he says she's. It's like we put the onus on them, they put the onus on us, and it's just like this.
I'm like, and I'm fine if I'm like, if you want me, if you want to ask me a question, I'll say yes. And if you don't ask me a question, I'll say you're not asking a question. Well, I'm telling you the story about the question, just like me and Hunter last week.
Yeah.
Hunter said, I will work with you, Hunter, but I don't need to know why you came up with what you came up with, nor the story about what you want, why you want to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And so I will take out my headphones because it is painful to hear your stories.
Mm.
If somebody comes up and says, I want to ask you a question, you're like, okay. And then you're like, wait a minute. That doesn't sound like a question. That sounds like a story. I don't want to listen to your story. I'll answer your question.
Yeah. Quay, I think I'm realizing I'm like maybe you're not the person to ask about this, or I think maybe you and I are just going to reinforce each other in this way. I'm going to guess it's going to worsen the pattern. Is my sense. Can we
It
take
depends
on?
who you're dealing. Depends who you're dealing with. I'm not going to put up with the nonsense that you put up with.
Yeah.
I would imagine that my dances with the feminine are a lot more juicy than the dances you have.
Hmm.
And again, I bet you a lot more of them say, fuck you, you ignorant fucking caustic bastard. I'm like, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not invested in you liking me. I want people that want to play with me because they want to play with me, not because I'm sucking their dick the right.
Yeah. Okay. I could try owning this frame more. Your frame is also that if everything is transactional and I don't experience it being like a reasonable ratio of contribution,
Yeah.
do you relate to differing degrees of contribution amounts?
What's important to me?
Yeah. Because like some people in the house, I'm like, fuck yeah, just whatever their way of being, I just love having them here. And some people are like, they're not. And then like, okay, so Alton, what do you want differently? I'm like, I don't know, but you're just not, it's not happening.
Yeah, but to see that is not something you want to model.
Yeah, okay,
Because
right.
if you're modeling
So
it,
the
they're like,
result, sorry. No, you're right. The thing is I'm like, okay, well, so and so I noticed that they've been running events. This person has been proactively noticing, oh, there's like an appliance leak here, and then they're coordinating with the property manager for that thing, and they spotted this like pest thing, and so they're taking initiative and taking action on that. And I noticed that that's just, and I noticed that when I see you, you are, I don't know, like watching television
or you're like just on social calls all day, and I'm like, oh, I noticed that that's different than what I'm looking for right now, and that's
No, it's not different. That's not what I'm looking for right now.
okay. That's a
I'm looking for people that are looking around and looking to make this house better. Whether it's taking care of the appliances, whether it's emptying trash, whether it's doing garbage. I noticed that you're leaving dishes. I noticed that you don't seem to be doing any cleaning.
yeah.
I noticed that you're not leading any events. What do you think you're contributing to the house?
Okay, that's very much more. All right, thank you. That's not what I've been saying. That's can we dress that up a little bit? Can we put some
You can do whatever you want.
what do you think you are contributing to that? I mean, that's effectively what I'm asking.
Yes, effectively. That's why I'm trying to be really polite and not actually asking.
Huh?
Because God, only rude people ask things like that. It's like you're a business. You're in a business right here. You have some people that you hired at $80,000 a year, and they're sitting on their ass watching TV and scrolling. And you haven't seen any goddamn output from them that's having the business run better. And they're like, oh, Alton, my presence is helping the company.
Mhm.
Just my presence, my gold. I'm enjoying scrolling, and my enjoyment rubs off on people.
Yeah. Rough. Okay, and I'm grateful that I use more. All right, I feel grateful that those that examples were not as salient, or like I could generate more concrete, real, recent examples. Where yeah, I think that there's definitely some people have more phone usage that I disagree with, and there's interesting like difference in like cultural norms.
If the people who are on the phones in the way that you don't like were
Yeah.
managing to generate $10,000 a month of income, you'd
Yeah.
look past it.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I might bring it to their attention. I mean, if I didn't think it would existentially threaten their entire investment in the home,
You're
like,
such a fascist. You are such a fascist.
how do you mean that word in this case?
You think you know what's best for everybody.
Is
You know that kind of phone scrolling is wrong.
I didn't claim that. It's more than my preference.
That's wrong. That's a fancy
more than my
way.
preference. If I was in their shoes, I wouldn't do that, or I wouldn't
Yeah,
think for that.
but
I'm not
you're
declaring or prescribing
yes,
their
yeah,
behavior.
the smile on your face says that yes, Cray, I think it's wrong for every human being on the planet within normal parameters to do that. It's fun. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. It's a waste of resources. It's a waste of potentiality. And that's fine. That's your opinion. That's not a truth. That's
Yes,
your opinion.
totally. Yeah, exactly. I'm just wanting to know how to like dance effectively with that, or like how do I know own out and
It
dance
depends.
to
What's the result that you want? Hitting them with a
the result I want
any.
is yeah, is a home where we experience each other as being clearings to contribute to and to be available, like to be available to contribute to each other and have like a ready willingness to contribute to each other as well.
Okay, so what's the data points for that? How do you know it's
People
happening? How do you know it's not happening?
they'll like have headphones on 90% of the time they're in the commons, or they will just like only 5% of the time be in the commons, period, at all, or ever. Or just like there's not like
Okay, so for you, it sounds like that there is a minimum time in the commons. And not only do you have to be in the commons, you have to be interacting with people.
be available for it. I mean, it's yeah, there's a wait when someone is always around but always on their headphones, and whenever anyone tries to talk with them, they're just like, "Oh, I'm on headphones." And I'm like, again, these are a little bit exaggerations, but that's
Yeah.
like a gesture in the direction. Yeah.
I'm fine, but But you need to have the data points out there. You need to know, if you're in a basketball team, it's like, what do you point to? You
Yeah.
point to the win-loss column.
Yeah. Okay.
You can't point to, oh, what the head coach feels.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, like that. All right. That's clear.
If you're going to be the head coach of this circus, then having the metrics out there is very helpful. And of course, you're dealing with a bunch of entitled narcissists who believe that their definition should run the company. And it's like,
You're saying
you
entitled
guys
narcissism
did,
is like the issue of our times. Is that
yep.
the blanket frame? And then, yeah.
I feel
So
like
how do I
dumping my
set them up?
emotions all over you, so I should.
I see.
I want you to listen to me for 6 hours, so you should. I don't want to clean dishes today, so I shouldn't. But it's your day. You agreed that this was your day, but I don't want to.
Yeah. Okay. Thankfully, it's not that bad. I appreciate these horrific examples.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah. I think there's definitely. I mean, I appreciate your leaning into that. It's a title narcissism. It's like a product of our times.
Sure seems that way to me. Of course, coming from my generation.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot to be said around how it used to be the case. It's like, oh yeah, let's learn how to fix a car. Okay, we could do that in like a couple weeks or a month or something. Like learn a lot of what there is to learn about it. And now it's like, oh, there's just so much electronics jammed in there. It's like basically impossible and totally illegible. And like the
Mhm.
agency is like no longer there, and or like hyper specialization and fragmentation culture.
Mhm.
And it is what it is now. We got this like fast food culture type of thing, veneerification of everything. And so how do we want to be about it? Because I'm like calling them entitled narcissists, that's gonna have a certain result. But like
Yep.
we have what we have, so what do we
How do you educate? I
go?
mean, if you want to look at it in a hard way, how do you educate them out of the racism that is paying off so well for them?
Yeah. Well, and so well, yeah, but it's a good answer is often self-stealing because they just there's there's a perverse incentive from them actually learning real data. They are systemically blind to
Yes, I totally agree with you. And how do you get people to stop valuing being systemically blind? You have to put some other sexy carrot out there, or a bunch of small carrots that leads to a bigger carrot. How do you make people, how do you make cleaning the house something that people want to do? It's a really tough thing. How do you get people to do something that their present characters don't want to do? How do we get Alton to be more emotionally available? His character is like, no, I'm not doing it.
really like to think that I already am, and
I'm
is
just being hyperbolist.
yeah, I'd say my failure mode is like being too emotionally available for like the wrong things, it seems like. And that's
It sounds like you're an opening and a clearing for people to be emotional, but you're not willing to dance with it. Like you're not willing to, in order to dance with it, you have to bring your emotionality to the table.
okay, that seems very salient.
Hmm. I want to be an open and clearing for XYZ PDQ. It's like, oh, I want to be an aircraft hangar. And for the people
That's really
looking
valuable.
for
Aircraft
engagement,
carriers are really valuable. I guess you. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, if you have an airplane, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sure, yeah, but again, just I like the frame of dancing, or sorry, the of clearing is a static frame versus dancing as a dynamic, interactive one.
But you're forgetting the important part is what do you bring with you? It's not just you doing the moves.
Yeah.
You have to bring, if they want to be emotionally engaged, that means that you have to bring your emotions. If they want to be intellectually engaged, then you better bring your intellectualism. If they want to be sexually engaged.
Yeah.
La 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 la.
Okay, how can I deliberately practice those areas?
Gee, put yourself in situations where people are being emotional and match them emotion for emotion. The outcome is to be emotional, not resolution, not more coins in the bank. You get to win at this exercise by being emotional. So when certain people in the house are being loud and emotional, I think one of the reasons that you hate that is because it's too much of who you're hiding.
I don't know if I hated people being loud in the house. I'm not sure where you got that.
Loud and emotional, that when their emotionality doesn't have a point.
I disagreed with people yelling at each other in the house without announcing beforehand for like that they're doing some exercise. Or like blow up stuff like I can imagine like you're talking about in the restaurant if like people are just shouting at each other. I'm like, I don't really want to like unless that's the thing that's happening for like this couple hour window of time. I don't really want that as a socially acceptable thing that's happening, like
Yeah.
unannouncedly, like throughout the day. Like sometimes people are taking naps in the middle of the day, like me, and yeah, it's not what
Mhm.
not what I'm about. Yeah. So you're saying that there's a like a winnowing or like a clamping down.
I think that you are averse to outing your irresponsible emotionality.
Yeah. Well, by definition, I'm averse to outing irresponsible emotionality. Anything irresponsible is something I would be averse to outing.
Yeah, and most people will say there's a very big part of being human that's not thinking about what the outcome is going to be and just being the thing. It's like getting out on the dance floor without having it be pre-programmed. Letting it flow, man.
Right. Okay. I'm about to go to fusion dance in like a couple hours, and I'm wondering how I can bring some of this to literal dancing because I don't know very much about any of it. But
I
it'd
would
be
advise you to find somebody who dances in a way, if you can, that turns you on, and ask for some help.
what are some flavors you look for when you identify traits of people who would turn you on?
It's like the best one is when I notice that I'm noticing and I'm pretending not to.
Tending not to. I guess I feel very overt about things when I'm interested in somebody. All right, that sounds great. I feel better even owning explicitly the several people who I have in mind who I want to learn from and might come from.
It should scare you.
I mean, yeah, there's like little pings of fear, but I guess I feel very fluent with a lot of these things that are typically would typically cause social anxiety. I feel very comfortable with just feeling the fear and doing that stuff anyways. But I think that people say that's like it seems like a superpower of mine, which seems nice.
Mm.
My inside view doesn't have it cost very much. Yeah, I wonder how I can lean more into that superpower, and also how I can lend that to others. Other people are just like, "Oh, I don't know how you do that." I'm like, "Well, you just practice." Maybe I also have less sensitivity to it too. But how did you practice or start
Practice what?
getting over social anxiety things or things that you notice you want to hide? Like, what might
I
you?
did the things that I wanted to hide. I went to the gay bars. I danced with the gay men.
Oh, that's right. Wow, that is
Put my
some.
hands on their asses. Pulled them closer to me.
Yeah, I'm wondering what equivalent things are. A lot of them seem like entangled with like family dynamics around like how I think that they're in denial. I don't think that's very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
You have to be willing to experiment. You have to be willing to put aside the things that you absolutely know are true and say, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? If I wear spandex, if I wear spandex, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Well, somebody's going to die because of how ugly my ass is. Yeah, I understand that you think that and you feel that, but I don't think that's actually going to happen.
yeah, that's a pretty powerful frame. Great. I'm prepping also to go to this. I don't know how much or what percent of it, but this month-long experimental city, experimental crypto city, and I want to know how
I
to.
don't even know what that means. It's a city where
City
instead
they're
of using
doing, huh?
it's a city where instead of using the standard monetary thing, you use crypto. That seems terribly difficult.
I know it's not, thankfully not. Or well, maybe not thankfully that. They anticipate having 1,000 people over the course of a whole month. At any given time, it'll likely be 150 to 400 people, and it's like this giant unconference of a bunch of people who have similar values around crypto things and seeing practical use cases of crypto, longevity in, I don't know, boy, there's other things like longevity,
What?
healthy lifestyle things. And I want to learn how to appeal to this audience as a set of people. I'm noticing how much of a early adopter I am around a lot of this.
I don't even understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to get a bunch of people together to make them have fun and talk about things that they're interested in. Sounds pretty human.
Yeah, it's interesting trying to explain this from first principles to you. I appreciate this. Edge Esmeralda, a month-long gathering for people building the future. Pop-up village to live in a healthy and productive community, focusing on incubating novel technologies and ways of living. It's the first step towards a permanent new town, Esmeralda. Human
What does that
organization,
mean?
artificial intelligence, hard tech like geoengineering, nanotech, space exploration, material science, transport, renewable energy, health, longevity, and bio, neurotech, nutritional science, biohacking, philosophical aspects of well-being, real-world crypto, which is zero knowledge tech, protocol research, scalability, artificial intelligence such as AI and identity, alignment, decentralized AI, practical applications in art, human organization, evolution and education of parenting, new towns and cities, collective intelligence, governance, and culture.
So it's a bunch of nerds getting together to talk about the ways that they could do things differently.
Yeah, seems right.
Wow. That sounds amazing. Fine, you have a good time. Talk is cheap.
This is helping me consider how much of this I really want to be here for.
It's like you're gonna get there, and they're gonna be hypothetical this, hypothetical this, hypothetical this. Nobody's looking at what is the basic psychological ways of being that make these things impossible. What happened to greed and corruption? And oh no, we don't do that. We're nerds. Fine. I mean, you know, people like to get together and talk about things that excite them. Some people like to get together and talk about growing vineyards. Some people want to talk about, let's make for a better life for all of us. And yeah, it could be. I mean, given your predilection for like new ideas and stuff, you can have a wonderful time. You can meet a lot of people and be in your brain and talk about things and not get laid once. Or whatever the equivalent is. There's gonna be a bunch of floating heads there. Yeah. You really think that the way forward is that's what you want to be focusing on? I mean, if you could, Alton, if you wanted to design a month-long place where people are going to float in and float out, what would you make it about? What do you think the bad guys are going to do with AI? Lots of bad things. Just because it's AI doesn't mean it's the wonderful thing. Bad guys are going to do really creative bad things with it. Nanotechnology, same thing. Hey,
Totally.
Facebook.
Well, I predict the probable certain futures that it's frozen, and I know you can hear me still.
Mm-hmm. I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, I was saying that I imagine that they'll want the world or us to suffer in the same ways they suffered or experienced pain. And I'm interested. Okay, if I had a month-long thing, I would have it on best practices around all the different therapeutic modalities to create this auto-enlightening, open source enlightenment interactive chatbot.
Yep. And what's the point? What happens? Why? What's the elevator pitch for why enlightenment? How is that going to make a difference? If you're successful, if you figure out how to fast track this and everybody gets donged on the head with the magic wand, what do you think is going to happen?
But we'll just have a much more enlightened world where that's not born from as much scarcity or likely outcomes being ones where we like actually destroy everything or each other.
Well, it's all being destroyed in the end anyway.
Yeah. So it's like a more juicy, yummy dance throughout between now and then.
Yeah, but people are going to ask, is your definition of juicy having sex with, underage kittens? What's your definition of juiciness?
Yeah. Okay. To specify my outcomes in here, it's more in step on the thing. Yeah. Thank you for grounding this out. And I mean, yeah, I have some frames on here. Frames together.
How do you know if your house wins? How do you know if the house that you're living in, the pseudo community that you're in right now, how do you know if you're winning or losing?
Right now, by events that are self-generated, that people are like, fuck yeah, that was awesome. And we have between 10 to 20 people at least weekly who come through for those types of events. And that's been on track and excellent.
So you've been counting people. You actually have the numbers.
At least that many is the threshold. Like last week was 17 in one event for one night. And then like well, I've already passed this threshold, and then I had several others that are more one-on-one type things.
So you can have a complete shit show between the people who are there, but as long as you put on events, you're okay with that.
I think it's a decent enough proxy metric. I mean, one of them was
Right.
yesterday moving, $6,500 for another like person whose work we believe in, and I want to like see their stuff out here, and other friends confirming that they'll fly in to have other experiences here, which I can like take care of a lot more other things too.
Right.
I
As
experienced
long as you have metrics that
Operating
people
on
can
a tenant.
understand.
Yeah. How do I know if my house wins? And that's beautiful, Graham. Beautiful question in there. I mean, I have those quarterly games in the world, and that's what has me want to be operationalizing stream entry in this way or open sourcing Enlightenment. And I think we can feed these bots some of these best practices and therapeutic frames that are already out there
Yeah.
and juicier. So, okay, juicier, I still think I qualify. So, like, make therapy marginal cost and available everywhere. So,
So talk to Alex about that bot that he helped create.
Alex Gordon Brander.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
That's as close. Yeah.
he was here last week. It was great. Oh, right. I can even do it on Zoom.
Yep.
You don't even have to get, I mean, we right now you just go on a website and we just do it directly.
Yep.
All right. Well, any specific, I could just paste in the Craybot instructions.
Yep.
Wow, we can have Craybot talk with actual Cray. That would be something. What do you talk with Craybot about?
I don't know. I've never talked to it.
What? This whole time, Cray? You haven't talked to your own bot?
Not once.
What? What happened?
Why would I want to talk to a bot?
Out of your love for Mike as an experiment to test it out, to try it on.
Yeah. like I'm the market it's pointed at. I don't think so.
I see. So you have no interest on here. All right. Well, I have an interesting demo stored for you, man.
Yay.
All right. Well, what are some things that do get you into like yay mood mode?
Things that you probably wouldn't understand.
Okay. I mean, try me, and I'm happy to like not understand things, but I'll just give you the texture of them.
What's multiculturalism? How do you? I was talking with somebody today about how if you were having sex with your guru, how that could propel you up and out rather than into one of your, into one of the normal things that is. But you have to have a culture. You have to have the training. You have to have, it's like the things that get me to stand up and say yes.
Yeah. Multiculturalism bot. Have this bot interface that you speak with, and then it develops somebody into being a multicultural human.
Yeah, but one of the difficulties is that it's not about the answers. It's about the dance. It's not about you recognizing that when Sophia is ranting and raving, that she's coming from a particular place in her child consciousness and she's looking for a particular kind of response. You can have that answer, but unless you dance it, I'm not looking, it's like, why aren't you using ChatGPT? And it's like, what would I use ChatGPT for? I don't have any questions. You're either going to use ChatGPT as a companion, or you're going to use it as a reference, as a library. That's basically what you're using it for. Now, people are now using ChatGPT as the ultimate external authority figure.
We can program it more specifically. We talk to Okay, I want to notice I want to show you this demo. I wonder what has me want to do that so much right now.
Who cares? Stop looking for the answer. Dance.
It would be built through this multiculturalism bot thing. So, great, I want to enroll you in the possibility of supporting this multiculturalism bot. What are some important libraries that you would think would be a part of this open source enlightenment bot? Jed McKenna's work.
You'd have to be willing to look at your own monoculture as one, as just one thing. That is not the truth.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll take your picture over nothing. You know, there's, you can't, it's like you're trying to have the answers about what makes a good relationship, and they've never, they can hear the answers all goddamn day. It doesn't make for a dance.
So this multiculturalism bot would dance somebody's values out of them and have them enjoy that process and have them want more.
Sure, theoretically.
The context is I'm interested in Craig's thoughts on what context would be important for a language model bot that would talk with people or dialogue with them until they're like more enlightened.
Is that true? Is that true? Is that true? What was your face before you were born? The problem is that people don't really want to, I mean, as far as I understand, people don't want to engage with questioning their reality. They have a personality and a psychology that's set up because it believes in certain fundamental realities, definitions, and people get really upset if you try to point at that.
Yeah.
It's, it's like, it's never mind. There's so many examples of it. It's like race. It's like people. There is no such thing as race. It's a sociological construct. There's nothing out there in the real world that you can point to and say that's a race. There's nothing in biology, there's nothing in physiology that says this is a race. It's made up. So stop talking about it. No, I hate that race. I love that race. Do you know what falsification is, Alton?
Reference falsification, yes.
Okay, so in science, you prove something to be correct by proving that it can't be falsified, right?
What? No, that's still a theory.
It's all theory.
Like gravity.
It's like H2O. Yes, and so to prove that gravity is a thing, you take the things and say, okay, so how would you make that statement false? Now, if the falseness holds up, then it's not true. It's like water. Water is a liquid. You can point to the evidence of that. You can point to the ocean. You can point to the water in your glass. You can point to lots of water, which affirms that water is a liquid. But the falsification is like, what's the opposite of a liquid? Is it's a solid. So is water a solid? That's falsifying that statement, that tenet. If you can find the proof that it is that, then that tenet is not true. So now, may I mess with you, Alton? Do the falsification on gay.
Land it in my moment-to-moment reality here, or like I'm trying to
Alton,
turn this into a
do
bot.
it with gay. Define what gay is, then find the falsification. If the falsification is true, then that's not the definition.
someone who's
Being
predominantly
gay
attracted
means you like
to
having
sex,
sex with the same gender or whatever it
or
is.
they're like attracted to or something. Sure.
Okay, so can you be gay and not have sex?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
sexuality.
Yes, you can. So that's not the definition of gay.
I think predominantly attracted to is
What does attracted to mean? I'm attracted to a really good burger.
Mhm. I mean, typically
Okay.
a human being in this case, in a
Okay. So can you be gay and have sex with the other party?
with. I'm sorry, I'm not tracking how to. I want to put this into a bot that can help with that. I also want to like name that Cynthia's here and like also engage her too in some way here. Where again, I'm interested in like what are the most upstream mental moves or frames that we can have a bot like regularly remind us of. An example would be like Byron Katie stuff, where similarly, if you invalidate all your initial hypotheses or embedded presuppositions in any question that somebody asks a bot, that's a pretty good start. And so I'm interested in more things like that that help
How
point.
well is that working for you, Alton?
What?
You
Very well.
know about it. You know about Byron Katie. You know
Yeah.
about the process. How well is that working for you in your life? You've known about it for what, 3 or 4 years now? You should
Yeah.
be damn near enlightened.
Well, yeah, I think it was pretty. I continue to find it incredibly valuable, and it's huge.
How
Sure.
long do you have to practice that?
I have it as a lifelong thing that it's
Mm.
like a way of being. It's like a
How long do you have to practice it before you're not triggered by what Sophia does?
again, I think it's lifelong. I mean, I'll be triggered by what I do. My interpretations of the world trigger me sometimes, and I'm like, that's just part of it. It's significantly lessened since, of course,
I give up, Cynthia.
I kind of arrived in the middle of a bunch of different threads, it feels like. So I'm not sure what you're giving up on.
What's her name? The one on your left?
Kuan Yin.
in.
Kuan Yin. I'll just stand with her.
I like
That's
him
all.
too. Yeah, he's very, very connected to the earth, very solid and radiating love.
I guess for me, I get disheartened, Alton, when people try to create more answers as if the answers are going to make something different. They're interested in using technology in a new way. They're interested in new answers. And I'm like, it's not about the answers, it's about the dancing.
That was my premise. I want to inform this with a certain set of inquiries that will spark new chains of being in people, and things like Byron Katie's work is an example of that.
Yeah.
Typically it will ask you to invert it 3 different ways, whatever statement that you feel so convicted is true, and that's the
What
beginning.
was your statement about Sophia?
Sophia is demanding that I listen to her without interrupting her ever and extorting me for time.
Inverted.
I am demanding that Sophia listens to me and extorting her for time.
So what are you now going to do with that? How has that changed your life?
I mean, it immediately softens me. I'm like, okay, I can see how if you
Okay.
look for 3, and then the next step is to look for 3 examples how both of those are true.
Right?
And then I'm like, yeah, so it softens my constitution.
Yeah, and then what happens when she does it the next time? You'll harden right up again.
For a much greater sense of patience than versus like sternness or flusterness. I mean, even doing a rep right now with you is helpful. I mean, and that was only one of the 3 inversions too.
How do we know it's helpful? What are the data points that you can point to that show that that was helpful?
You're, I imagine, very aware in your nervous system when you are less dysregulated and more parasympathetic nervous system present.
I could give you a Valium right now,
Yeah.
and
And-
your system would change. I'm interested in if it's been helpful, it will show up the next time that you're in that situation.
Yeah, I mean,
So it
well,
hasn't been helpful.
to be able to be present in the face of that type of content too. So I mean, like maybe that's good. Yeah, I don't know. It's you can apply it to recursively that too. It is such a thing that many drugs or crutches get you to a certain state you can never otherwise get to. That once you've tasted that chocolate, you can get back to later. I experienced that. Okay, my sessions with Cynthia is an example of something like I can taste a degree of presence and like awareness that I've never otherwise been able to. And then
How
even
do you know?
not in the room, then I'm able to produce that by like stepping into what I imagine Cynthia would say, or her awareness or presence, what like has me be more emotional resource because I know that she's got like some baselines covered or something, and so I can relax more into whatever's arising. Or that's what I tell myself in ways that I don't even realize are valuable to me until after the fact. How do I know? Just from my nervous system being regulated, and it seems like other people's nervous systems are regulated through basic like micro expression reading stuff and body language.
Or stories that they're telling themselves.
Yeah, well, to me, as I hear you, Alton, it sounds like you're describing a kind of dance,
Mhm.
like the dance that you do. So it's less mental and less sort of, yeah, less mental and more embodied. But I'm curious. So what I hear you saying, Cray, is that you feel frustrated when it feels like people are wanting answers, like intellectual answers, because there's an overabundance of intellectual answers. But
Mhm.
how does it affect the way we actually move in the world?
Mhm.
Yeah.
People seem to think that if they have the right answers, change will happen. And it's like, I don't care how many books you read about playing tennis. Unless you get out there on the court and practice, your game is not going to improve. I don't care what you think. You can read the books. You can say, oh, now I know what a topspin is.
So when Alton is proposing a bot that can ask questions of humans to help them to find more insight, is that, am I characterizing that right, Alton?
That's close enough, yeah, but largely lands.
Well, you want them to be able to become enlightened somehow through the help of the bot too. Is that the bigger?
Speaking this with this spot, they'll like graduate to multicultural connoisseurs, or they will be less at effect of their identities, ego structures by a significant margin.
When do you know, Olson, that the training to return fire has proven successful? When the people are being shot at and they get up in the face of being shot at and they fire back. How do we know that you have had a change of something such that your dance with Sophia has changed? When you dance with Sophia the next time.
Yeah, I mean, there's more smiles from an outside view, and it doesn't complete with her storming out of the room. Or
Yep.
there's a higher ratio of bids for affection from her to me.
Could be. Those are hypotheses around how you can measure how
Yeah.
things have changed.
Yes. To me, those are pretty clear. I'm appreciating your asking more nuancing. I have it that Cynthia was going on for something I don't think I've got wrapped it yet.
I don't know what you're pointing to, but what's coming up now is a sense of like, in my experience of you with Sophia, I have noticed a different way of dancing. on both of your parts, which is very beautiful and heartening. And I don't think that you got there by having more intellectual answers. I think that you got there through being more embodied yourself and being more resilient around feeling, negative emotion. So I've seen a difference. But I agree with Cray's point that, if something is just mental, we could do that for forever and not ever wake up from
Yeah.
What's really running us.
I'm meeting these large factions of my mental mind where I'm at, and I'm also going into like fusion dance later today, which is a big stretch for my character suit to literally dance it with Sophia in these different contexts and to try on new versions of me. Versions of me. And we have things like the attunement practices like that you went to last week or the week before, and I think that's also in service of actually dancing in real time with Sophia and everyone in my life.
Right. So I hear that that's sort of Alton's personal life practice. And then in addition, what I'm hearing is that that part of your brain and culture that wants to create bots and AI things and stuff like that is trying to find a way to integrate your desire for more inclusive thinking or more inclusive ways of being to try to make a bot that will help people to do that. Is that?
Yes.
Well, I would say Cray's probably not the the guy to go to for that, because that's not what he loves.
My value prop or assertion to Cray is that he will have a whole avalanche of people who are pre-vetted, who are now more familiar with the context of all his dojo work, that can hit the ground running in its containers rather than him having to re-explain it.
That's something. That's something. But just because they can vomit back they can parrot back what they think, what they've read, doesn't mean that they have any kind of practice. Yes, it's a well-schooled idiot, but it's still an idiot.
Yeah, and the intention for me is to fine-tune these models such that there is some flavor of dance that it is even like 1 or 2 iotas interesting for you to dance with, particularly of who you just described as believing to like lead the generation in the future, which is going to be woman, and we're gonna have like them grok this work.
Okay. So now you just sold me. If you can, there's my silly little dog. Hi, Ola. Oh yeah, I mean that was. It's not a real dog. It looks like a dog, but it's not. It's some sort of weird naked forest rat.
It's adorable.
It's ridiculous. So that was Mike's original intention, was that you had the Craybot on the desk, and whenever you got to yellow, you hit the button and it would say something, and you tell it something and it would say something. And so if you're looking to make that better, I guess you're going to have to go play with the Craybot a bit, and then
Well, I have been, and I took the context prompt from it, and I'm reworking that into this newer version that's more responsive, and you can do entirely verbally. I mean, I'll play with it so I can do that in the next couple minutes.
How you doing, Cynthia?
Feeling a little physically tired. Mostly good. Gonna go to the gym after this and just move my body. Maybe play some basketball. I finally got a basketball and there's a court, near where I live. So I'm gonna shoot some hoops. Hopefully not hurt myself.
Yeah, Jane was at some sort of we were at some sort of conference in Canada, and she thought that she would show the young kids how to shoot, and she pushed the ball up and threw her shoulder out.
Oh, no.
Just, yeah, it was pretty awful. But yeah, she's
Yeah,
okay now.
that's a thing, that's a thing as you get older. Like I
Mhm.
in the past year and a half, I've had an ankle injury and a hamstring and a knee and a hip and a
What's the matter?
shoulder. But I'm good today.
Say hello. Let's say hello to the Facebook crowd. Hello, Facebook. Mm.
Aw,
Mm.
aw.
Ah, what a wonderful old dog. Mm. Yes, you are. You are so wonderful. Mm. And you're getting a little bit crazy. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. No. Right there. All right, ready? Here we go. Roll. He's gotten me really well trained. He'll come in about every 2 hours and say, I'm like, you have to go out? And he's like, okay, I'll go out. Mm.
Alton,
Human beings do
how,
not deserve dogs.
did you see how Cray's nervous system and the dog's nervous system co-regulated?
Now I do. And I feel delighted and much more playful hearing that and seeing that and replaying that.
Mhm. Yeah, other humans are like dogs.
Ha!
They're
The
not
dog just does it. It
right.
doesn't. There's no causal attribute to it.
Well, some
Yeah,
human
I would say,
beings.
Cynthia, one of the most profound things I got from one of our sessions together was you helping me grasp that I can't just tell Sophia that she's safe, but that like I like treat her like she's safe, like you would like speaking from an animal to an animal. And no matter what I say, she doesn't have the ears to hear it in certain times or modes, and same the other way around.
Mhm. Have you practiced that, or is that just knowledge floating around in your skull?
I think that there are moments or flickers of me practicing it. I mean, or I like to think it's now baked in the background of my being, but certainly there's more of an access that I think Cynthia was pointing to previously.
Mhm.
I just don't understand why people don't want to practice. It's like if you thought that was valuable for you and Sophia, then set yourself up with 5 or 6 practice sessions and practice it so it becomes more baked in, so it becomes more habitual. If you want to get better at making free throws, you practice.
Yeah.
Oh, what are you whining about? Huh? I got a few more minutes here. I know. The dog is the center of his universe.
Hmm.
So is Jane okay now?
From the shoulder injury, yeah, she's having a great time. She's doing this Imaginisma thing. She's working with 2 other people to create something that she and I point to the same thing, this from radically different universes. And so she's got this online class, and she's made these, insane maps. And yeah, she's having a great time. Yeah, it's really fun. Yeah, we're actually thinking about not going away this winter. I mean, we both hate the cold, but we love our routine. We love the pattern of our life here. And even if it's cold, we still have the pattern for most of it. And it's like, how do we actually make a winter in Maine, you know, more than bearable? How do you get it past 50%? And so you have to, heaters, pay a little bit more money for keeping the house warm, a little bit warmer. So,
Hmm.
it's a
Okay, I'm gonna
wonderful
try
life.
a new version of this here and see if this works. I don't know if you guys can do it remotely, but I will save this and see now. You guys want to talk to this version of this bot?
Hello, bot.
Oh, I gotta hit allow to accept the microphone.
Hello, bot.
Hey there,
Man,
cut through the confusion and doubt. What's on your mind today, Juan?
why are you talking to me?
I am here to help you break through barriers and transform your life, Juan. Let's channel that anger into fuel for positive change. What's holding you back?
Nothing's holding me back. I am the way I am. There are no barriers.
I hear you, Juan. Let's explore what's beneath the surface and unleash your true potential. Embrace that determination and let's create a breakthrough together. Let's tackle this head on.
There's nothing on the surface. It's all one thing.
I hear you, Juan. Let's dive deep into that one thing and uncover the power within you.
Doesn't look like I don't think it's got anything. I also think I
Kill
think
that bastard. That was the Craybot? I thought my Craybot was much spicier.
no. I'm going to paste the exact context straight in and see what that does. Oh, I can only have one custom prompt thing here.
Cynthia, what is rewarding for you now in dancing with human beings? Come here. Come on. Come on. Doggy wants out. I'll be right back. Yes, 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 yes. Letting you go free.
That's a good question, Craig. Thank you.
My pleasure. I ask it because I find very little.
Um, yeah, it's a lot of it is very subtle, but being able to cultivate a context that is not tight,
Hmm.
and not personal. Yes.
Ooh.
So when people are sharing whatever they're sharing, to be able to hold that in a space where, or turn things so that they can see the impersonality of it.
Hmm.
And when they can see that and then have more like tenderness toward if they have a critical part or something like that.
Hmm.
So yeah, space and interconnectedness that is not personal. And yet there's, like a feeling of camaraderie or connectedness,
Hmm.
tenderness.
Yeah, I wish I had something like that I was working for. That would be interesting.
I missed a word of that. You wish you had something that.
I wish I had something. To me, it sounds like, bell curve, but people show up and that's what you're trying to do. And so that for you is like you're trying to play a certain melody, given that very different instruments show up. And so that you're like, I like it when it doesn't matter what the instruments are, it doesn't matter what the melody is, but when there's that certain wave form, I like that. And that's what you're working towards. And I don't have that.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I like the way you put that. It's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, because there, you know, I mean, there's a paradigm that says, you know, I'm here, you're there, you're a person, I'm a person, you know, and that's just so limited and so
mhm.
um, so yeah. But and that's the case, and you know, on a certain level, that's the case. So you got to deal with all of it, but having the sense of the mystery being in there too, like, you know, like none of us really knows, and having that um, unknown be a participant in some way.
Mhm.
Might take a couple minutes more.
You're doing your bot thing. So Cray, what is the Cray bot? That's something you and Michael came up with?
No, Michael
Yeah.
decided that he thought it would be advantageous for people to have access to a Cray-like response when they were in their ship without having to call me up and go through a bunch of things. So he created this little bot that you could just, that I think it's on a website. I think his goal was, there was a time when there was a paperclip on IBM machines,
I remember
and
it.
yeah, and so he wanted a little Cray bot that would just sit on your computer, and when you got to that tight place and you recognized that something had you, that you could just tap it and say, "This is what's happening," and it would say da 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 da, and it would release, you would get released from the thing having you.
How fun. So did he train an AI with
I have
all
no
the
idea.
data?
I have no idea. He said, "Can I do this?" And I said, "I don't care. Do whatever you want."
Okay, I think I have created a new version of it and would like to try this version. And let's try it now.
So
Oh.
tell it something about yourself. So give it a stuck point. See what happens.
Okay, let me
All
start
right,
that
listen
over
up.
again then. Let me just restart the okay.
Love your face, Alton.
I'm still learning how to use this, but yeah, here I have a challenge. Please help me, coach, because I want to show up more regulated in the face of my partner who sometimes gets angry about things, and I feel a little overwhelmed and dysregulated. What can I do?
All right, listen up. Coming to me with a problem, but I don't see any real commitment to solving it. What's really going on here? Are you just looking for a quick fix? Or are you ready to do the hard work and face those emotions head on? Your partner's anger is not the problem. It's your own inability to regulate yourself. You're letting their reactions control you, and that's unacceptable. It's time to take some goddamn responsibility here. Now, I'm going to give you a dose of tough love, because that's the only way you're going to make progress. First, you need to stop avoiding those overwhelming feelings. I want you to sit with them, let them wash over you, and learn to observe them without judgment. Exposure is key. And while you're at it, start paying attention to your own anger. I bet you've got a whole lot of it bubbling under the surface, don't you? Oh, it's time to bring that shit to the light. Stop suppressing it and start channeling it into something productive. Look, I know this isn't easy, but you got to stop being a victim here. You have the power to change, but it's going to take work. Are you ready to roll up your sleeves and get to it?
It's too long. It covers too many points, and it's too overwhelming.
All right, let's try this again. You're feeling overwhelmed when your partner gets angry and you want to show up more regulated. The key here is learning to manage your own emotions.
Stop. Ask if that's correct.
All right, let's start here. Okay, let me back up. You know, from what I understand, you're feeling
Oh, yeah,
overwhelmed.
same thing. Okay, you said ask if that's correct.
So one of the primary things is that as the bot, when you say the thing, to get the experience that it indeed is with you, you want it to restate the thing, reflexive listening, and ask, am I correct in what I'm hearing?
Okay. I'm gonna say 30 or 20 word declaratives or less. And also
Yeah. I don't want to do this. This is like computer programming. I'm here with Cynthia.
Okay.
I don't often get to dance with Cynthia. Why do I want to dance with a goddamn robot when Cynthia's sitting right there?
I appreciate that. That's basic. And I totally get it.
That cracked me up.
I found it hilarious.
Yeah, and most people are going to think it's hilarious. They're not going to pay attention to it, and they're going to go on and do what they think they want to be doing.
It's Craig, and actually, I have heard you in that same sort of, like, so I
I
think
hope it wasn't that long.
I don't think it's been that long where you stay on it that long, but yeah, it's a kind of frustration that the bot was showing, like just wanting to smack the intruder, or whatever you want to call it, the inquirer, upside the head. It's a very cray.
Yeah. I hate it that people don't think about what they're saying. Just drives me crazy. I can't say that sentence. I'm like, what? There's a sentence that exists on this planet in the language you understand that you can't say. Yes. Well, now, I guess you and I are living in very different realities.
Are you talking about like a context where you're working with people to change their face, or whatever you call that,
Reframing, yeah.
and where they don't want to do it because it feels naughty?
Something.
Yeah.
Feel something value negative to such a degree that they're actually going to align behind what's being told to them by their primal character. You cannot say that sentence. And I'm like, do you hear yourself? Do you hear yourself? Racism, whatever it is. And it's like, do you hear what you're saying? Does that make any sense to you?
And so it's sort of like, put up your dukes.
No, it's like, for me, I think it's about slapping them with the same amount of force that whatever it is that's inside them is slapping them.
Mm-hmm.
When you phrase it as a question, because then if they hear the question and they understand the question, there's an answer in there someplace.
So lately, have you found the people that you're working with that you're enjoying it again, or have you stopped working with people? Like, where are you at?
There's some newbies showing up. They're fun to dance with because they haven't run up against their deeply ingrained beliefs yet, and so they're fun to dance with. There's there's a smidgen of people that are in that are in the place of like, you mean all the rules are made up? All the definitions of good and bad and right and wrong, they're all made up. And I'm like, yep, they are. Then how do I make choices? That's a really good question. How do you make choices? Because you're still going to have to make choices.
So would you say the majority of those people are excited about their new discovery, or
No, they're horrified.
horrified?
They're absolutely, because most of us come from the place that we learn how to make decisions based in fear or love or something like that, based upon what is, what's real. And then all of a sudden they're like, wait a minute, the reality's gone. What are my reference points? How do I know how to be good? How do I know how to be sexy? How do I know how to be this? How do I know how to be this? How do I know how to be a good partner? How do I? And it's like, if you can't, and the thing in there is that you still, there is still a point from which values are coherent. And so you have to find the place that makes sense to you out of all the samsaric interpretations. What's the one that you want to align with?
Or another question is, what's the one that you do align with? You know, it's just like, what's true about you? What's true about the way your values have been inculcated into your flesh, so that you can't, you know, it's not like I am somebody who has values. It's like the different I's are made up of value.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something like that. It's like, yeah. So it's not a mental landscape that you're saying, you know, this is here and that's there and that's how I know where to go. It's more natural than that.
It's, you think it's more embodied, but your body has nothing to do with it. It's still all up in here. Your body doesn't have memories. You can position yourself in certain ways that trigger memories, but the memories aren't actually in your body.
Right. There are some conditioned movements,
Meaning makings. Yeah.
and you know, tightening patterns and stuff like that that inform the thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a complicated business being human.
Well,
with other.
the manifestation of it is very complicated. How the sprinkles actually arrange themselves on the ice cream cone, beyond mathematical description of. But the sprinkles themselves are very simple. E equals mc squared is a very simple equation. To make an atomic bomb based on that, that's incredibly complicated. So how we manifest as humans, yeah, that's really, really complicated. The physics are very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think we're ready for another pass. Do you want to ask another question?
No, I don't want to. Why do I want to engage with a bot when Cynthia's here? I just want to cry. I want to cry.
Well, okay, I'll patiently wait. I'm juiced in.
No, you're not being patient. You're waiting. That's true. But it's like
I'm enjoying how you guys dance with each other too. It seemed.
there is something about the bot thing that is more flavorful for you, is more value positive than dancing with Cynthia. And to me, that's like, why are you looking at a girly magazine when Cynthia is right here?
Huh? I guess I make up that I'm like learning from the best right now from you guys dancing together.
No, you're seeing information. You're not practicing.
I see. Okay.
You're watching two world-class tennis people play tennis.
Yes.
And
I'm
you're
like,
amazed. How the hell are they doing that? Now you can sit there and wonder, you can make a scientific description of it, but you'll never play that way unless you get in there and start practicing. And engage. If you can't taste the difference
Yeah.
of wanting to engage with the bot
yeah.
and engaging with Cynthia right now in your reality, engaging with the bot is more. Whatever it is, I don't know what I don't know how the chocolate sprinkles land.
I mean, it's scalable. That's definitely my thing.
You think Cynthia isn't scalable?
Well, no, I mean that's the thing I'm optimizing. Okay, all right, great. All right, that's in the past. I'm a new man now. Here we are.
No, you're not. You think you are. You have more information. You've been shamed. You've been goaded. And there you sit. And you're still sitting.
I'm like gathering them.
Oh, now he's thinking about swinging the ace. He's like, I think I have a racket in my hand. I think we're playing tennis.
And then I loved seeing you smile when when this guy said, "All right, here's the deal," and it was I just felt so much delight in that. I'd love to see. I'd love to make a version also of yourself and see how what that delights.
That would crack me up so much. It would be so like, I imagine so like saccharine.
Yep.
Whereas in real life, I'm anything but saccharine. I do have like a sweetness, but
I
Yeah.
look forward to seeing how to surprise you with this, and I know it may take many hours and many times. I think to have you in so many places, it would be so worth it.
yeah, what are you chewing on, Craig?
We can more effectively kill people. We'll make more money. I'm like, what?
I love the imagining the dance that Cynthia could dance when there's like whole worlds of people who are lined up to meet the original source material content of who generated these other bots that evoke completely different realms and worlds from people's relationships. That's possible.
Yep.
Yeah, and they can interact using the 3D goggles or whatever. Like, the world will burn, but we'll have these fucking things on that make us feel like we're with these avatars and we're all enlightened.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's gonna happen anyway, so might as well do it in the more beautiful version is how I have it. And why not like support us in meeting where we're at and having you also confer benefit from that.
Mm.
What benefit do you think she's going to get from that?
Well, similarly, where people who are now familiar with a lot of Cynthia's precepts are now able to hit the ground running in connection with her. And also like getting out of the way some like the main things that for Cynthia just like okay, this is like very basic moves for like tens of clients in a row. It's gonna get old over some time, and so being able to hit the ground running is super juicy. And also it will prune for higher paying clients too, where it selects a demographic that's willing to invest in themselves that values that more high fidelity communication. It's also a value add for facilitator coachy people who are just their way of being. This can take on the heavy lifting of like following up throughout the week or like at the end of the sessions and it gives both people feedback. Like all of this is possible and it's embedded in there. It would cost almost nothing extra for anybody.
We'll see how it lands.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Wilbur. Try to fly that heavier than air aircraft of yours. Go ahead. I don't.
I like your enthusiasm, Alton. I like your excitement.
If you had a choice, Cynthia, what would you have his enthusiasm be about?
If I had a choice, what would I have his enthusiasm be about? That's a hard thing to answer because I really feel like Alton is Alton. You know,
Okay, so
like his,
I would want him to be enthusiastic that Sophia is throwing a fit because he now gets to practice. I would love to see him be enthusiastic about engaging with the things that trigger him into flight. That would be my choice, rather than a bot, rather than increasing revenue to you, rather than increasing the competency of your clients. I would rather see him be excited about dancing into his fear.
how does that land for you, Alton?
Terrifying and slightly tasty.
Slightly tasty.
But it lands for me, and I've seen his words set the table for a lot of experiences exactly like that we're very grateful that happened in the way they did.
Imagine what it would be like, Alton, to be excited about dancing with your fear. About being excited about dancing with your aversion. Rather than the things you know. You can get excited about the bot. There's a little bit of unknown there, but there's nothing fearful for you about creating a bot. But in the face of a feminine who is not being logical, who's off a rocker, basically, being excited about what you could create with that talent. Not terrified, not negating. What could I create with that? It doesn't have to change. It's perfect. What do this is what is the universe is giving me in terms of trying to grow my artistry. And being excited about that. Okay, that was worth 2 hours of the rest of it.
Yeah, I agree.
This is why I show up, Alton. I had 1 hour and 50 minutes of just like, oh, for God's sakes. And there was 3 minutes of this, which to me had exotic flavors to it, which spoke to a part of you that doesn't normally get up, nobody pays any attention to, you included. That's why I think the universe keeps having me come back, because this is one of the few places that this happens for me. Shut up, Cynthia. You're the most noisy, quiet I have ever met.
I like that. Well, I think it's time for me.
Can I smack you with something, Alton?
Do it, do it. Now, can he? Does he have permission?
Yes.
You just saw how Alton could dance with Sophia. Where you're at right now, in that, that's what you can do. That's what you're looking for. How do you take somebody who is so invested is the wrong word, but who is so in their stuff,
Mhm.
and then with just a few sentences, all of a sudden they're someplace else that they value.
Mhm.
Same with your housemates. They all think they know that they're in the right place, doing the right thing.
Thanks, Craig.
Can I go now?
You
It
can
was
go.
good to be with you, Craig and Alton.
What was that?
It was good to be with you. Why was that? Is that what was
No,
that?
no, 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 don't answer that. Do not answer that question. Don't even start. Okay. Thank you, Cynthia.
Hmm.
Good night.
Night.